read. Now, we're going to dig into this, and I want you to keep up your mind on this question, because I want to wrestle with this when we get to the end. But I want to introduce it to you now as we talk about this other stuff. A little bit of context. It's been a month and a half since we read Luke 8. First off, these men that Jesus sends out, they've been Christian for 2 years. How long have you been a Christian? Longer than 2 years? I want you to compare yourself to them. If Jesus expects this from people who still mess up royally, I mean, in 2 weeks, we're going to hear Jesus say, I am going to the cross and I'm going to die. And Peter's saying, yeah, we're not going to have any of that. And Jesus sends him out to tell other people about Jesus. So we got guys that are pretty mixed up yet, who don't have it all down, and yet Jesus sends them out. Compare yourself to them and say, you know what? Most of us in this room have been Christian a lot longer. And most of us, frankly, at this point, probably know more than the disciples. Correct. We do have a big advantage there. But I want you to think about that. And another thing I want you to realize, too, again, is context. Again, it's been a month and a half since we read chapter 8. It's been a little bit. But in the last week, in fact, in the last 3-4 days, the disciples have witnessed Jesus stopping a life-threatening storm by shouting at it. They witnessed Jesus slap down a gang of demons. They have witnessed, what was that? Calms the storm, takes care of Legion. They witnessed Jesus heal a woman with a medical condition that had that medical condition for 12 years. Here I'm talking to adults. I can tell you what she had. I don't have a medical designation. I could probably look it up. But basically, she had a period for 12 years straight. That's what she had. And Jesus heals her like that. I think, you know, when people are happy that they're healed, I think she was probably among the happiest.
Well, yeah.
The happiest woman.
And right after that, like within a half hour after that, he raised a 12-year-old girl that was dead, and he raised her to life.
Yeah, Jesus raised that girl.
Yeah. Now, Jesus, the disciples have witnessed all this. They have seen his power. And now Jesus says, okay, all that stuff you've seen me do, your turn. Yeah, you do it. They see that. I can't imagine that.
They're like,
Yeah. Now, something really interesting happens here. Because Jesus first gives them authority to cast out demons and to cure, and then he tells them to preach. Now, I'm a good Lutheran. What order would I expect that to be in?
Preach and then hear.
Yeah, I would expect that to be flipped. God's word is more important. But there's something kind of neat going on here. Last week I got to see a video of something the Wells is doing. That's our church body. We have several churches down in Las Vegas. And I didn't know this, but Las Vegas, what was that?
Road trip.
Road trip. Actually, they're pretty good churches. And here's one of the ways that they're good. They found out, and I didn't know this, apparently Las Vegas is one of the centers to go to if you are a West African refugee. West Africa has a lot of war going on. We heard the story of a family of 7 that had to bury themselves in dead bodies to escape the military that was hunting for them. Like a kid of 4 years old. They were able to escape and came to the U.S. And the thing is that if you're a refugee, you have nothing. They're brought to Las Vegas and they're sort of dumped there. And our church has found out about that and said, we can do something about that. And so they started bringing care packages. They got the addresses for all these refugees. They started bringing care packages of food, things like toilet paper. And while they could not support everything that family needed, they then became a resource of saying, oh, you're looking for a job, I'm going to hook you up over here. You need resources for more food, I'm going to hook you up over here. And they became the way that many of these refugees were able to live. And the refugees were blown away. They asked, why are you doing this? And the people were able to respond, my God is rich, and he became poor, so that I, even though I was poor, could become rich. And I want to share that with you. And because of that love, many West African refugees are now Christian, have joined our churches. One of those men is training to become a pastor right now, and in fact, there is now a church in Las Vegas for West African refugees because of this effort. We got to see a video of them worshiping. It was really cool. Doesn't look anything like anything we've got here in Kenosha. Really awesome. But Jesus knew something that sometimes we forget. If I don't know you, and I say, hey man, I'm going to tell you about Jesus, okay? Let's go talk about Jesus. What's your reaction going to be?
Back away.
First, I was like, get the heck out of my face.
Get away from me, man. I don't know who you are. You get away. And some people are really talented at just bringing up Jesus in conversation with people they don't know. I'm not one of those people. I really struggle with that, honestly. But Jesus knows that if you truly show love, and here I'm not talking about doing a bait and switch. I'm not saying, I want you to join my church, so I'll be nice to you until you join my church. That's crap, and that's not what I'm talking about. But if we show our love, that can open doors to share Jesus. Felicia, you said you're using this. If you're filling in the blanks, we're going to skip that. Sometimes we need to show our love before we're able to show Jesus' love. Let's go back to that question I started with. There is all this pain in the world. Do you think that you might be able to help someone if you actually show them love?
Yeah.
And here again, I'm not talking about being nice. Being nice does not help anyone.
But generally, truly, they can tell from.
But if I am doing this because I honestly love you, that changes lives. Now we're going to hook this into what's the big deal with Jesus in a little bit. But understand, already we're talking about changing lives. Jesus said, you go out there, you cure diseases, you cast out demons. Even if those people reject Jesus at that point, their lives are already better. Interesting instructions, Felicia, you caught it. Why take nothing? Simply put, so that we rely on God first. I don't need a program to share Jesus. I don't need fancy stuff to share Jesus. I don't need extra shirts, although if I'm not showering, it may be helpful to have those extra shirts.
Be nice for us.
Trying to tell me something. Yeah.
I was thinking, it would be another way for them to show that God provides for them unconditionally to whoever they're helping.
What a demonstration of
Because
that.
they're not, even though they have no food, no clothes, they're not asking for stuff to help people.
Yep. And there is a reason why pastors, at least in our church body, are paid relatively less. I found out recently that our nearest church body to us that we're not in fellowship with, their close cousins, Missouri Synod, their pastors are paid literally 3 times as much as ours are. Now, I don't say that.
The economy around that area.
That's just the minimum. That's their guidelines. If you have a pastor, you're going to pay them this much. Now, I don't say that to say, give me a raise. We are well taken care of in my family. We do not need a raise. But we are well taken care of because we have learned God's going to take church body we take to heart. We will give you what pastors think we need. But we're not walking around, if I go out and I buy that new 2017 Mercedes, that's probably not going to happen. Besides, I'd get a Tesla anyways. I love you.
Yeah, keep your dang Tesla.
And then Jesus opens up something that if no one listens to you, first off, not everyone is going to listen. When I was in high school, I went to Fargo North Public High, and I was the only Christian among my friends. Especially in high school, I was not exactly letting my light shine brightly. That was not something I did well, but I was the only Christian among my friends. Not that I'm a Christian in school, just the only one among my friends. Most of my friends had no interest in Jesus, and if anything came up, it was not well taken. Or was taken with a, yeah, that'd be nice, whatever. Jesus says, if someone rejects you, what does he tell you to do here?
Basically rush off.
Walk away.
Wait a second. So Jesus is telling me, Jesus has said before this, anyone who rejects Jesus is condemned. So Jesus is saying, if someone rejects me,
Walk away.
forget it. Is that what he said? That doesn't sound like him. Two things to keep in mind here. One, this is going to be a surprise to you. You are not God. I know it's kind of shocking, right? But I think we forget sometimes, and when we are really, really invested in someone, we love them and we want them to know Jesus, we think that we're the only ones that can share Jesus with that person. Sometimes that happens. And so we get so caught up. And what happens is I can only be one person. I can only be one person at a time, also true. I can only be in one place at a time. There's a limit.